The leader needs to be convinced that building an inclusive school will make my school better. That conviction he or she should carry within. And he should be a role model. I cannot be asking my teachers to do something if I say, वो गंदी बस्ती के बच्चे को क्यों कपड़े नहीं दिए अभी तक? Correct. So if I use that sentence, I am passing to the children that you belong to a dirty community because your community cleans the dirt of others. See the logic. If I use such terms and if I think like this, then I am not being the leader who a teacher can look upon and a child can look upon. Leaders should realize that children are watching them as well.
I'm Jitendra Singh, banker turned entrepreneur and author of the book Pep Tech, Mastering the Art of Selling. I welcome you to read my story where I interview authors, speakers, coaches, celebrities, entrepreneurs and more. Today I have with me Dr. Anupam Ahuja. She is a former professor in the Department of Education group with special needs and head of the International Relations Division at NCERT. She has 39 years of experience in national and international field of education with a focus of developing inclusive practices. So Professor Ahuja has worked in more than 20 countries on numerous assignments on training, initiating, guiding and evaluating inclusive programs in Africa, Asia, Eastern Europe. She is a member of advisory group of UNESCO IBE and the most recent publication researching out of all learners, a resource pack of supporting inclusive and equality in education, which is a new version of teacher education resource pack, special need in classroom. She reviewed the Education for All EFA plans for 17 Asian and Pacific countries with a focus on linkages between inclusion and the EFA. She has been a member of the working group constituted by the Ministry of Education for developing e-content guidelines for children with special needs, the national guidelines for promoting inclusive education, and of the International Cooperation Group working on issues pertaining to India's international cooperation in the field of education. She has contributed to many national and international research-based publications on education and school improvement for children with special needs. She is the founder and co-editor of Enabling Education Network Asia. So today she will be discussing with us about her life journey. So welcome Dr. Ahuja, the platform is open and now over to you.
Thank you, Jitendra, for the introduction. And going to the life journey is a long ask. I will highlight certain issues that come to my mind. I'm glad that you are focusing on inclusive practices. It's an area that is very important for us to consider. And the National Education Policy 2020 highlights this for us. For many years, we have worked in education. Since independence, the country has moved on and has covered a lot of ground. Yet, you and I and the viewers, I'm sure, will agree with me that there are children still who do not join our school systems. And there are also children who are in our school systems but do not learn as well as others. Now, these children are my concern. The ones who do not join and those who are in the school system but are not learning as well as others. So this has been something that I have been working on for many years with a sense of great urgency because 70 years have gone by and we cannot just sit, and say it will be done. It has to be done, and each day for a child is important because it means we are not fulfilling our ambition of giving quality education to all. Now, having said this, in our country, this is, as I just mentioned, our policy decision. It is also our legal binding on us. And this is not just a national issue, it's also an international issue of concern. So this is what drives me and has been with me for the last 4 decades almost as a professional. And I've had the good fortune of working in an autonomous organization which is at the helm of affairs in education in the country, and also having worked with many international colleagues who, like us, believe in what I have just said. So, Jitendra, it is important to note that every child is important. We can't leave any child behind, you know. And each morning, when a child leaves home, the experience in school should be meaningful, and that's what is NCERT's prime goal as well, to keep school education on the top of the list, you know, and work towards fulfilling the goal of good education for all children.
Right, ma'am. So, ma'am, on to this further, if we talk about yourself, like, how did your past life has affected the person you wanted to be in your life, and you became like what you are in your life?
Yeah, that's very interesting question. I would attribute this, Jitendra, to my childhood to a large extent. I have been brought up in a family where equality was a natural thing. You know, I saw my grandmother treating everybody equally. You know, in those times in the 60s, we would, if you recall, I don't know, you would not recall, you're too young, but in the 60s, you know, we used to have people who would come to our homes to clean, for example, our toilets. You know, and they would come every morning and they would sweep and do that. Now, usually the trend was that as a child, I saw people giving the leftovers of night's food to them, you know, as a token of, okay, here is something for you to eat. But I saw my grandmother serving her fresh food in the same utensils which we would use, not different, not kept away. You know, so there was a sense of she's like everybody else. Her job seems to be something that she has acquired from her mother, but she is not, because of her job, less than others. That's something I saw as a child. I saw my mother talking with people with a great sense of warmth and a sense of being humane and concerned about the individual. I think these things that I saw my parents, my grandparents, the people around me left an impact and moved me towards this concept of we are all born equal. It's only the society that brings in these differences. You know, when I hear in a school a child telling another child, "Tu to langda hai, tu langdi tang kaise khelega?" Now, this is not what a child wants to say. He has heard this from adults, you know, from people around, that somebody who is physically different is less able, you know, and therefore this discrimination. Now, I grew up in an environment which did not discriminate and created people and treated people with equality. The people who would help me, us in our household, were never called servants. They were called house help. They were treated equally. The child of the lady who worked for us also ironed her clothes for her child when the child was sent to school. She wasn't given the leftovers. She was, you know, treated with the same sort of sense of being a mother, like my mother. So that same food would be given to that child as well. So we were one family. They just happened to be helping us in our life. So I think these things, if I reflect, as you have your question makes me think, these things sowed the seed that we need to work towards an inclusive society.
Right.
And when we do that, we are all happy. You see, when we do that, that was also a message I got as a child, that it makes the society a better place for everyone. And also, finally, I would say, I always wanted to be a teacher, you know. So that was something that, and therefore I have always enjoyed being a teacher educator and a teacher, you know.
Right.
And
it's been
I have grown.
Journey.
It's been long journey. And I have reflected on it every day almost and tried to be better than what I have been the previous day, you know. So that's a sense of purpose that I think my parents, as I said, my grandparents and my loved ones made me think about. You know?
Right, ma'am. That's really interesting. So if I talk about things you are passionate about in your life, so what are those things? And onto this, like, what is the role of motivation and inspiration?
Yes, I have my main focus is to help stakeholders think about providing quality education to them. That's what really drives me in my writings, in my training, in my talks. And I have been very fortunate to have very good mentors in my education, who gave me that grounding and the confidence to be a good professional, and helped me build my educational skills and training as well. It's what I do is not from the books. It's also as a part of the skill of training and imparting what I know. And that's been with good mentors in society and in education for me. And in the council, I had the pleasure of joining early, just when I had taught for a few years in college, and had excellent professors who I worked with, who again would get up and, make a copy of a sheet on their own as a photocopy, but not wait for somebody else to come. They also lived that sense of, okay, it's our work. It's not a smaller piece of work. So I had these personalities who, in my childhood, affected me, who made me see that if we provide good education and we reflect on what we do, we build a nation. And we work 24/7, for this in the council with seniors, and that motivated. And that's why that motivation is still there. It's not something that you require only when you're in office and you leave when you leave office. No, it becomes part of you. So that's the short answer to the long journey of having both national and international personalities who have made me critical about what I do and also strive to do better, as I said.
Great. So that's the real essence of motivation and inspiration.
Yes, and I think that's important for everybody. You need to have a hero and a heroine, who stands in front of you.
Someone you can look up to for whenever you feel like down. So you can see them as in your motivation or inspiration.
Absolutely, Jitendra. And I say that even now. I mean, I am not saying that's only for youngsters. Even now, I have people in my within my visual field and my head who I think I must write as well. My research paper should be better than that person. My thoughts should. So it stays with you.
Correct. So, ma'am, since your career have been really long, 30, almost 40 years. So, how it was, like what all you did? So it's difficult to summarize everything in a short span of time. But still, I would like you to share some of the important and interesting journey like there.
Yes.
So, ma'am, since you have been working for quite long, almost 40 years, so how does your work and experiences look like? What are the most important learnings, like experiences there, which you have worked on?
Yes. If I was to go down the memory lane and, when I take this learning that I talked about, this concept that I talked about to the grassroots, I see teachers telling me very often that, ma'am, we are saddled with, they don't think they're saddled with, but they say that we have so many children with us, and now to think of those who are different and to accommodate their needs, you're asking for a lot from us. 80 बच्चे हैं, we are teaching them, and now you are asking us to teach the blind, you're asking us to teach children who may be intellectually challenged. Nobody taught us how to do it. How do we do it? So this is one question that is often asked, and they are not wrong when they ask this question. If I'm in their shoes, I would also say the same thing, because our training by and large in the country still does not prepare us to handle children who may have autism, who may have, disabilities which are visible, disabilities that are not visible. So to convince such a teacher, to work and to take the first step is, in my experience, one of my biggest challenges. To start that mindset that all children's right needs to be respected by you. And to also make her think that this is no charity that you are doing. This is a teacher's role. And even now, because of the legal and binding on you, also, it's a legal binding also now on you, because we have acts that support it and we have signatories to international mandates. So the education system has to gear itself up for handling this situation. Now, this getting this across to the stakeholders, getting this across to parents who have able-bodied children, so-called. I mean, that's what they think, that this is permanent and they will always be like this. To think about the others studying along with their children is also a revolutionary thought for many parents. Right. So this is also a challenge, to make them not just learn how to teach, but also how to evaluate them, their learning, and to make them ready for the job market. A child grows, and a child with disability also grows. He also demands from the civil society a place in the society. So these questions, which rightly are asked by stakeholders, are our biggest challenge, and as an educator, a big challenge for me also. So convincing the teacher, making her think for all, is sometimes a daunting task. When you look at the situation in which our teachers work. Let's also remember, every teacher also has a personal life. She also maybe have walked to school, may have left an aging parent at home, may go back to a family which she needs to cook for them, she needs to wash for them. So a teacher has a life also. So it's not just in school that her life revolves around. And she is coming to do a job. Everybody does not think that we should be working 24/7 for this. So these are challenges that we meet. And when we discuss this with teachers, when we get them to think, and when we tell them what global research and national research tells us, and when we tell them the tasks in a simple way, we get across to them. So our challenge is how to make them think that if they are looking at these children and changing their teaching methodology, then they are becoming better teachers. And not only for these children, for all children. And that's a task that we are engaged in very passionately. And that's the vision we carry. It's done in a very progressive, thoughtful, and careful manner. You cannot give a teacher everything in one shot. Attitudes don't change overnight. Our thinking needs to be worked on. And that's our challenge. How do we not let such attitudes get formed with pre-service teachers? And how do we change attitudes of teachers who are in service? And then how to get the administrators' support for them also. Because a teacher alone will not be able to change the world,
Correct.
She needs other teachers to work with her. I mean, a maths teacher can be inclusive, and if an English teacher is not inclusive, the child will be confused in the school, no? So the teaching community has to work together in a whole school approach. And the administrators have to support. So how do we get this going is our biggest challenge.
And also the role of parent is also equally important.
Yes. And parental support is always needed by a teacher. No one knows a child better than a parent.
Right.
And nobody cares for the child as much as the parent. So if a parent says, why should my child sit by a child who is drooling? We need to have an answer there for the parent, and we need to convince the parent that the saliva that's flowing is not infectious, So, and in society, we don't have a separate world for those who drool. They also are part of society, and they don't drool because they want to drool. It's a condition that is there. Just like, in the household, we're all different. Children are different.
Beyond their control, actually.
Beyond their control. And some children are born different. Some become different because we do some things. We are careless as parents, We are answerable. So a child is not at fault. That's what you have to convince the other parent, And all children are vulnerable, God forbid. But, disability, it does not see richness, or poverty or caste, color, creed. Anybody at any point of time, God forbid, can have a learning condition which will be different from the other. So, right. And what you also need to convince parents is that the teacher who works with these children may appear to be spending more time with the child. But when she spends time, she improves her pedagogy. She improves her teaching skill. And that helps every child in the class. And this is not what we say. This is what research says. And that is why globally, we are working towards building schools which are inclusive in character. Because countries that can afford one teacher for 2 children also are saying, let us teach them together in regular schools.
Right.
Because we cannot have different societies. And if children don't learn together in the early years, they will not respect difference when they grow up. So that is what you have to convince a parent, that a different bus doesn't fly for the physically challenged. The physically challenged also has to board the same metro, has also to board the same bus. So it's better that they learn when they are young. So an able-bodied child, when he sees somebody who walks differently, if he sees the child in the early years like this and grows with that child, then the attitude will be not tu bechara, tu langra, and the word tu will never be used then, because the children then love each other and respect each other. So that's the whole concept you have to pass on to a parent, to a teacher, to an administrator, to an arts teacher and a science teacher. We also say that both these subjects, one is not less than the other, and art and physical education is the only thing that a child who has learning lag is a subject for the child is also wrong. We must give equal opportunity to every child to learn. And the science stream is both for boys and girls, and for the blind, and for the sighted children. It's not only for a few. So that's the idea that we need to project in the school systems. A teacher, if she cannot teach science to a blind child, it's the fault of the teacher. 3 fingers point at her and not 1 finger at the child. The child is blind, that's okay. You have to learn to teach science to the blind child. Correct. That's what we make the teacher think, right? So that's the challenge that makes us, take this idea to the teacher. And when the teacher practices this, she realizes that it was really not to, we demystify it also. We don't mystify it for a teacher. When we make it simple, she's ready to accept it also.
Correct. Right, man. That's really interesting one. So, there are so many ways you explore when you go out of your comfort zone. That is really important. So, you rightly pointed out onto this. So, if I ask you about your vision, mission, and goal in life for next 5 to 10 years from now, what do you think that should be?
Oh, that's my vision, mission, and goal is based on the passion to meet the needs of the last child in the line. Very often the last child in the line is forgotten, and that child that is different becomes part of the furniture in a class. Very often, he's not heard, he's not seen, he's not planned for. So my vision is bringing these children who, by accident of birth, if I'm born in a poor family, it's not my fault, right? So by accident of birth, if they are different, by circumstance, if they are different, my vision is to bring them in the focus and provide them equality and quality both. That's what our policy also says, giving them equal opportunities so that they can also grow according to their potential. You see, I'm not saying potential is similar. Strengths are not similar. But we have no right to say that because your potential is less, I am not going to work with you.
Correct.
My vision is also that wherever we have special schools, wherever we have NGOs, they should work together. Every school has strengths. If we pool in our strengths and we work in clusters and share our resources, both human and material, things will show an improvement. And we work on attitudes. Above all, it's not the lack of resources which makes us turn down children. It's our approach. It's our own attitude. So our mission and goal is that we should plan for all. We should think for all. And we should be critical about what we do. We should reflect. One of our major goals is to make each teacher a reflective teacher. I can provide training from the NCERT grounds or the internet, but that training will be for 5 days, for 2 weeks. After we go, they have to stand on their own. And the best way is to reflect on what you do and work with another teacher, at least one more teacher. That's why we always also invite often 2 teachers from a school, so that when they go back, they have one person to fall back on with the ideas. So our goal is to help a teacher reflect and stand up and ask and seek support. When I have said what I have said to you as a goal, no teacher can become superhuman and do it alone. She has to say that I don't know this. Where can I get support? So when she says this to herself, then she goes in the morning and seeks that support and realizes that support is available. Maybe not the best, but better than her working alone. So our goal is to make teacher-teach model work in the country. Teacher sharing her thoughts with another. Just think of it logically. If we are solving one maths concept, and I bring 10 teachers here in front of you, Jitendra. 10 teachers will have at least 5 ways to share about teaching a concept. Now, if they share those 5 ways, we will have a better way. So our goal is that we create such islands in the country where teachers reflect, ask, and use each other as a resource to improve.
Right.
Because we cannot train everybody. It's a very large number. It's a very diverse country. Language is a big barrier. Social, cultural norms come in the way. So training, by the time we train the large masses, we have tried different ways in the council. Online, offline. During COVID also, we were working very hard not to miss our targets. Face-to-face mode. Yet we are very clear in our thinking that we cannot reach everybody,
Correct.
And education is a state subject. So that's also something, it's important that we make teachers think about what should go in the content of a textbook. What
Correct.
should be the visuals like? They have to think for themselves and then share that with others. Then we have textbooks. NCERT cannot always give you the best textbook that will work in the entire country. We have local heroes, we have local cultural stories, we have visuals that are close to children, what they see every day then when they walk to school. So those should be part of textbooks, not a national textbook rolled to everybody.
Correct.
So that's our mission, to make people think of education and plan for education collectively.
Right.
And the policy also has grown like this, from a collective consciousness about what we need. Let's not forget, Jitendra, we have got this policy after 35 years.
Correct.
And now is our time to take it forward, with that inclusive character, because every page of the policy talks about inclusive education. It's not just few chapters. We realize in the policy that we have a lot to give still to our system and to our children.
Correct. Right,
so our
ma'am.
goals and missions reflect that.
Thank you, ma'am. That's really wonderful. So on to this further, if I ask you, your most important life lessons from your personal and professional journey, any 2 things you would like to highlight?
Yes, that's one, and first and foremost is that I have realized working with teachers that they try their best, and we ought to build our learning based on what and where they are. That's one good learning that I have picked up. I cannot import something from somewhere and say it will work from Tuesday. I've given it to you on Monday. No, that will never work. You have to always first understand where are the teachers working and what are their current goals and conditions.
Correct.
And then build your learning on that and build it in an incremental manner. Rome was not built in one day, So we cannot expect eureka for every teacher to happen like this, So one of the things we've understood is go at the pace that change requires. This is a change. Moving towards building inclusive societies through inclusive schooling is a big change. We may be convinced it will take time. And we have to move with the pace of the school. We have to move with the pace of the teacher. That's one learning.
Correct.
And the second most important learning is that nobody can do this alone. You have to move the whole society to think with you. Teachers, collaboration is the key. That's the word. And the need to collaborate must come from within. I cannot teach a teacher to collaborate. I can only give her alternatives how to do it. She has to decide with her administrator and other teachers who will collaborate, when, how, during the academic year. Let's remember, every school has an academic year. We cannot impose change.
Correct.
The school will do it on their own pace. And
Yes.
that's something sometimes we become over enthusiastic and we say, change the timetable from Monday. Changing
Not possible.
timetables never happen from, not possible. They have to change in the head. And also, finally, as a footnote to what I just said, is attitudes. They also take time. Give people visuals of good examples. Give
Correct.
good case studies should be disseminated. Teachers who and communities that work together should be applauded. Nothing works better than applauding and recognizing individual efforts
Correct.
and collective efforts. So it's not monetary alone. You know what I'm saying. I'm sure the viewers know. We need to not go to a teacher with the sense of you and I are different. We need to go and say, I'm come here with an extended hand. Let's join hands. Let's shake hands and move forward. When we do that, a teacher is the first person to jump in for the change. But when you say, I brought this from this country, I brought this from this country, this is what NCERT thinks, she listens to you with respect, but may not follow it.
Right.
And respecting a teacher's effort is very important.
Correct.
Try being there for 8 hours, on a day, and try being there every day. You will realize it's a very tough profession.
Right.
And we pay them well, but payment is not what a teacher alone needs. A teacher
Correct.
needs to be recognized. And once we start recognizing their efforts, we move at a very fast pace.
True. That's really wonderful
Yeah.
one. So, ma'am, if
Yeah.
I ask you on how can individual and organization practically develop more inclusive practices, and what positive impact have been observed from these efforts?
Yes. Well, the simplest way for this to really grow is to allow a school its own pace. My message is understand inclusion, understand its benefits. Remember that we are here to meet the needs of all children. Whether they look physically different does not matter. We should not look at only the physical forms. It's the learning needs of individuals. You may be an early riser, Jitendra. I may be a late night worker. This is the difference between the two of us. We are both established adults in our profession, right?
Right.
Children similarly have differences. Love your child, care for the child, and recognize the difference. And let the school decide the pace. Let the goal be clear for every school, but whole school development is what will work in our country. Not a paintbrush which gives one color to everybody. You can
Correct.
paint walls and make schools look in the same color, but you can't make the inside of a school the same. And it should not be, because the community a school caters to is different. Even in 2 kilometers difference, if we travel, and I have traveled for many miles in the country and outside, seeing school systems, the culture of every school needs to be respected. The professionals in each school need to be respected. They need to be given their goals and given the time to develop themselves. Yet, there should also be a long-term and a short-term target. I'm not saying just let it be. Then sometimes we become complacent as well. But
Right.
again, I very clearly say, don't push down through the system. Don't make them claustrophobic. Don't make them feel, constricted. Because no amount of good teaching can happen, just like an artist can't paint when you just give him a canvas and a small canvas and 2 colors. Similarly, a teacher cannot teach when you make her tense. When you make the system accountable for every hour. That doesn't work. So this is something that I think organizations must acknowledge. Leadership is very important. A motivated leader can make all the difference.
Correct.
And again, the word you use, collaboration amongst institutions. We
Right.
should not say, I'm an NGO, you are a government body, you are this. No, we are all serving our children. And if our children work wonders and learn how to learn. See, let's also remember, you and I don't remember what we learned in our geography chapter 8, page 24. But we are skilled to take up any challenge because the school system gave us that confidence. The university system gave us that confidence.
Right.
So helping children learn to learn is a motto also that
Correct.
schools must follow. Don't cripple them with knowledge. Let them bloom with skills.
Right.
And
ma'am.
it could be vocational skills, it could be technical skills, it could be academic skills, and it could be all of them together. So let's not also underestimate if a child wants to go towards a vocational stream. That's okay. We all cannot be doctors. We all cannot be engineers. Right?
We should
We have
support
to
them
have,
actually and let them decide what they
yes,
want to do.
yes,
So, ma'am, you
yes.
just
And vocation.
spoke about leadership. Onto this, I would like to ask you, like, beyond diversity, how can leaders foster an inclusive culture within their teams, and what challenges might they face in the process?
Yes, the leader needs to be convinced that building an inclusive school will make my school better. That conviction he or she should carry within. And he should be a role model. I cannot be asking my teachers to do something if I say, वो गंदी बस्ती के बच्चे को क्यों कपड़े नहीं दिए अभी तक?
Correct.
So if I use that sentence, I am passing to the children that you belong to a dirty community because your community cleans the dirt of others. See the logic. I mean, if I use such terms and if I think like this, then I am not being the leader who a teacher can look up on and a child
Right.
can look up on. Leaders should realize that children are watching them as well. Sometimes we think he's such a small child. Would he really understand if I shout at my, help in the school and say, why didn't you serve me cold glass of water? I'm putting it very bluntly, okay? We think, अरे ये बच्चे को क्या समझ आएगा? बच्चे को आता है समझ.
Correct. They understand everything.
They understand. So a leader must be a role model for inclusion. That's
Right.
one. Must believe in inclusion. And thirdly and lastly, the leader should understand the other members' thinking. And that's like making them look in the mirror. It's not easy. I may be very clever to hide my inner thoughts about differences, and I may pose to be a very person with no difference, with a sense of equality in my mind, but I may be thinking differently. So a leader must understand the group he or she is leading,
Correct.
make them think for working towards inclusive societies and the why of it.
Right, ma'am. So really
And
important.
then proceed in an incremental manner. I always say, let's proceed in an incremental manner.
Correct,
Let's not
correct.
move at a pace where we want to show results. And
Right.
the leaders should also accept failure.
True.
That's very important as well. Everything will not be hunky-dory and move it, And then how to tackle that failure collectively.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
ma'am, if
So
I ask
these-
you on individual front, like how can individual and organization be informed and educated about best practices in inclusion and diversity to continue their journey towards creating a more equitable society? So, role of individuals, like how it is important.
Yes, role of individuals first and foremost is, I would say, every individual should strive to make a good practice happen in the school and document it. That's something that doesn't happen. Lots of teachers are doing lots of good work in our country,
Not
but they
like
don't write. Yeah, now we have audio. We have people like you who are ready to record their work as well and disseminate. So what I urge teachers to do is build a good practice for yourself in your school and disseminate it to another teacher.
Correct.
Now, once we have these pockets of good practices, you see, there is nothing like a best practice. This is a misconception. What is best today, tomorrow technology will make it redundant.
Correct. Something new would come.
Yeah, something new would come. So everybody has to keep thinking and evolving for themselves. Now, COVID has had a positive impact in the sense that it has made us savvy to approach technology. Lots of surfing can help you get to know what's happening in Philippines, what's happening in a corner of Mexico, and what's happening in Japan. It's good to be connected with Andhra Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, and West Bengal, and to understand what's happening around. What are teachers like us doing elsewhere? There are short stories, long stories, research papers, all available at the pressing of a small working on the mouse.
Right.
So if you work collectively and say, in a month, I'm going to bring 2 good practices to school, served from, you will have 20 by the collection of logic only.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, do it small, but do it planned in a consistent way.
Correct.
Share your
Also-
practices. Yeah. So
Also
the
share
mantra
with-
is,
share with your colleagues so that they can also replicate.
yes, that's the
Right.
point. Share with
Right.
your colleagues. Let them be critical about what you're doing. Also, take their suggestions, improve your practice, and collect practices yourself. You can take you have to be thirsty yourself.
Right,
Don't
ma'am.
wait for someone to do it for you.
So, ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
what is your take on success? How does it look like to you?
The smile of a child. That's the most, in a brief way, if I was to sum it up, success for me is to see a content child. Success for me is to see a child not run out of school when the school bell rings, but to linger and say, I don't want to go home. That's success for a teacher and a child. Unfortunately, we see children rushing out of schools when the chutti ka ghanti rings. We should ask ourselves, why do children want to run out? Real success is when they want to say, I don't want to go home. School is a nice place to be. I'm with friends. I'm happy in school.
And they come to school with a happy face.
Happy face, and they stay happy. They don't frown. They don't lose
Right.
their happiness, because it is success for me is allowing children to learn in a happy environment.
Yes,
Important,
really important. So, ma'am, in last, any message or advice you would like to share with our viewers and listeners?
I have learned a lot in the process of being in education. I think one of the major messages is be patient, keep your sensitivity with children, always respect the child, be sensitive. We often say respect elders. I say to others and to myself all the time, respect the child. Because once we respect a child, we don't look down upon his or her difference and learning behavior.
Right.
So that's a message I want to give. Love, care, and respect. If you give these three things to children, they will love you back, and you will enjoy being the professional working with and for them.
Correct.
Let's remember, it's all for the children, but for all the children.
Definitely, and that will be like best thing for them, because they would feel inclusive about the process, and they will love being part of it. So that's really amazing.
Yes. Finally, I would say all equal yet all different.
Yes.
Keep this mantra with you, and you will love your profession and you will grow in your profession.
Right. That's really wonderful, ma'am. You have shared so many wonderful things today. And the thing which is inclusive education for everyone, and the school environment should be in such a way that every kind of student is being parted with the right education, right support, and a right kind of culture should be built in, so that they feel part of the system and they learn from there and they be happy about it. So that's really important, and you rightly pointed out each and every aspect of inclusive education and inclusivity in the society. That's important and integral part of our system. And ma'am, I must say the things you have shared today was really awesome. Your experiences, your journey is really an inspiration to me and many people. 40 years is long journey, so definitely that will be really an inspiration for most people. So ma'am, looking forward to hear more from you again soon. Thank you so very much for your time. You have been wonderful, shared so many things I really enjoyed. And I will also
Thank you.
Social media of yours, so that people can be in touch with you, take your help and guidance as well.
Thank you very much, Jitendra. It was a pleasure talking to you. I liked your sensitivity towards this subject, and it's what makes us keep going is youngsters like you. When you help bring such issues in the forefront, that's what really tells us that there is hope, and we have to work together to work for a better education system every day for our children.
Right.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you so very much, everyone, for watching and listening. I hope you all must have gathered a lot of information and enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a good time. Thank you, and bye-bye.